Alright, moving on to number 4. What shift occurs in stanza 4? Okay, so the timeline advances to after the war to show the effects the experience had on the speaker. Let's reread stanza 4 real quick. So, if in some smothering dreams you two could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the whites of his eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil sick of sin. Alright, so I'm already seeing a difference. I'm not sure if it's in the answer choices, but I am seeing a difference that he is talking directly to me, the reader. So, no, for number A. I guess it could be after the war, but that's not really the direct shift. So we're going to eliminate number A, or letter A. The speaker introduces a conflicting point of view and presents an argument to counter it. There's no counter argument there. The point of view changes so that, oh, that's what I said. The point of view changes so that the speaker is addressing the reader directly. Alright, so that's what I'm thinking it might be. The scene changes from events that actually occurred to events the speaker imagines. No, he's talking about things that did occur behind the wagon that we flung him in. So he's telling the reader to imagine yourself in my shoes. So letter C. The point of view changes so that the speaker is addressing the reader directly. That's going to be our shift. Okay. Number 5. Following question has 2 parts. Answer part A and then answer part B. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. Since we can, I'm going to move this down so that I can see it right next to these answers. So it'll be a lot easier. Okay. Alright. Okay, so stanza 1. So we're looking for which of these functions we can fit in each of these. We do have to remember that one of them goes in all 3 stanzas, and the others all appear once. Okay, so builds tone by telling horrific details. So, horrific details. Well, I definitely kind of see horrific details in number 1. Coughing like hags, we cursed through the sludge. Many had lost their boots, but limped on bloodshod. So that's, to me, that's horrific details. So I'm going to copy that into here. Okay, establishes the war scene. So something is being established. That's happening in the beginning, right? So that's first setting it out. So this should be the first time we know that we are reading about a war scene. It's going to be the first stanza. And if we want to change our mind, we can go back and change our mind about any of these things. Okay, propels the action of the poem. So this is related to plot, right? Propels the action. So if in plot we have the exposition, so we learn our setting and our conflict, propels the action's got to push it on. So it's got to be in the middle of our story somewhere. Propels the action. Gas, gas, quick boys, ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmet, someone was yelling out, floundering, so things are propelling, definitely in stanza 2, and plus that makes sense for plot, structure, so I'll put that there. Introduces the speaker of the poem. So we're going to look for the first time, so if the speaker's introducing themselves, we're going to look for the speaker saying I. And here we're past tense, not really mentoring person. We have a we. And then we have I saw him drowning. So stanza 2 introduces the speaker of the poem. States the speaker's view of war. Alright, well, first stanza we are getting description of his experience in the war. More description in stanza 2 of an event in the war, the aftermath of the war. And then we have where he is putting us in his situation. But he says here, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest the children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, dulce et decorum est, which if we remind ourselves, means it is sweet and right to die for your country. So this speaker does not have a positive view on war. Okay, so it is a lie that it is sweet and right to die for your country. Right, and then we have characterizes the soldiers as weary. Well, definitely in stanza 1, the soldiers are being characterized as weary. That's where we're first seeing how tired they are. Paste. Okay, so one of these has to go in there 3 times. We've used all of them once. Tone is something that's maintained throughout the poem. And so I'm going to verify. We have horrific details in stanza 1. Stanza 2, we have somebody burning alive in gas or fire. So people are dying here in gas and floundering. It's not pretty. So, horrific details, copy, paste, and then we again have horrific details in the final stanza, stanza 4. We have the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, blood coming gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs. So, yeah, that's not pretty either. Okay. So we have our one that's used 3 times, and then we've used all the rest once. And those are the correct answers. Okay, so then part B, how do stanzas 1, 2, and 4 work together to develop the theme? Okay. By detailing both everyday misery and agonizing death, the poem suggests that enduring the horrors of war is not wonderful or patriotic. That connects to what we're learning here, that it's a lie, that it's sweet and right to die for your country, so it's not wonderful or patriotic. It's a possibility. By considering how war affects both individuals and groups of men, the poem suggests that not everyone is fit to fight in battle. No, it's nothing said in there about people not being fit enough for battle. By focusing on an unexpected and sudden event, the poem suggests that there is no good way to prepare for one's own death. No, the poem is not about the speaker trying to come to grips with dying himself. By describing negative things about being a soldier, the poem suggests that war is ineffective in resolving conflicts between nations. Whereas this part is true, it does describe negative things about being a soldier, it is not mentioning anything about resolving conflicts between nations. So, no. So then, we're going to go with our first feeling. Number A is correct. Okay? And then we have, which statement best summarizes the central idea of this poem? It is one's patriotic duty to fight for one's country, regardless of how unpleasant the consequences. That goes against what is being said here in the end, which, remember, is connected to our title. So this has got to be the central idea, that it is not wonderful or patriotic to fight in a war. So that is going to be opposing the central idea. Those who praise war and promote the involvement of young people are promoting a false image of glory. That's possible. Because that does connect to the old lie. Engaging in a war involves tremendous sacrifice and bravery for the public good. Does involve tremendous sacrifice and bravery, but there's nothing in this poem that supports the idea of it being for the public good. All possible methods of resolving conflict should be pursued before young people are asked to fight for their country. So again, not a whole lot involving conflict here. So B is best connected to this part of the poem here. My friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory. The old lie, it is sweet and right to die for a country. So we can definitely verify that with the text. B is the correct answer. Okay, number 7. In what 3 ways does this poem challenge or disagree with the idea that to die for your country is a noble thing to do? Okay, so we know that's the main idea. So that's what the poem is saying. So how does it go to prove that it is not a noble thing to do, to die for your country? Does the poem treat the outcome of a battle as less important than the soldier's experience? Did we notice was there anything mentioned about them winning? I didn't see anything about them winning. So I'm going to say that that's a possibility. That's a possibility. It shows the pain soldiers feel when society does not appreciate their sacrifices. There was nothing about society and not appreciating anybody. It portrays the soldiers as powerless. That I can see as well, because they're not able to escape even in their dreams. It suggests that men are forced to become soldiers against their will. There's no evidence supporting that. There's nothing about them not wanting to become soldiers and being forced to. It implies that soldiers who are truly brave do not care about making sacrifices. No, nothing about bravery. It establishes that the ancient Romans were less. No, never in there were Romans mentioned. It denies the possibility of soldiers dying with dignity. That's a possibility. Or I guess those are 3. Because it does. That every death of a soldier described in this poem is kind of brutal. Or not kind of, it definitely is brutal. So, our correct answers here going to be, it treats the outcome as less important than the soldier's experience. It portrays soldiers as essentially powerless. And it denies the possibility of soldiers dying with dignity. Okay. Alright, so I'm not going to read this poem to you for the sake of time. I will tell you that hold on. Sorry about that. I'm going to go in and look at your responses individually, but for the most part, you are correct. If you mentioned that Pope, the author of Who's for the Game, so this poem here, presents war as a game to be to be won by people, so he's trying to get people to join the war. He develops his point of view by speaking directly to the reader. He presents people as being either a hero or a bystander, and encourages you to want to be the hero and not the bystander, so you should join the war. And then Owen, the author of Dulce et Decorum Est, presents the war as gruesome, never-ending nightmare, and he's trying to portray the realities of war. And he develops his point of view by presenting specific soldiers and describing realistic traumas of battle. And he is moving from consequences to group, individual, and then speaking directly to the audience, trying to get you to picture yourself in a war. But again, I'm going to go in and look at your responses individually and see how you did with pulling text evidence and whatnot, and I will try to give you feedback as soon as I possibly can. Alright, good luck.